Hello and welcome to this, our report writing webinar. I'm Dan Horton, the Deputy Director of the Leicestershire and Rutland Teaching School Hub and also the AB Lead, and I'll be leading you through this webinar all around end of term reporting, progress reviews and what to expect. For some of you this will be really helpful because you may not yet have written your progress reviews. For others you may have already written it, so this will be a helpful reminder of what's to be expected, but also you'll be able to revisit this video when we go to progress reviews due later in the year. And then when it gets to more formal assessments, the end of an ECT's year one, the end of year two, when you're commenting on all of the teacher standards, I'll be leading another webinar at that point. This is the recorded version of the live webinar that I ran last week. So if you did manage to come to the live webinar, hopefully that was helpful. I always find that it's more helpful to come to the live webinar itself so that you can ask any questions you've got. But hopefully if you weren't able to make it, then this recording will be a tool you can use to help with your progress reviews. I always start any induction tutor briefing with this slide. This slide is our ECTE team. So hopefully you're well aware of who I am now, but if not, then this is the rest of our team. Here's what we're going to come up to today in our webinar. We're going to look at end of term reporting, what it is, why it's important, and a bit about your role as the induction tutor. We're looking at expectations for comments and the detail that may need to be provided within those comments, and also any other details you may need when you're writing these reports. We'll go through how to write a progress review in today's webinar, and I'll show you a live version of this on ECTE Manager with a pretend ECT that I've made. We'll look at the importance of remembering digital signatures, especially when we're coming to write those progress reviews and send them off to be reviewed by us here at the Hub. And then deadlines that are coming up throughout the year. These are approximate and are subject to change, but these are the current deadlines that we have been set. Now let's look at end of term reporting to start off with. In terms of your role as the induction tutor, reporting and reviewing and assessing an ECT's progress against the teacher's standards is a vital part of your role. They will have done lots of work in their weekly or fortnightly mentor observations, and that will help you to make those assessments against the teacher's standards, but the progress reviews are the assessment against the teacher's standards, not what happens as part of their ECT programme. So making sure that we've assessed against the teacher standards here is vital. And that's part of your role as the induction tutor. You will talk to the mentor to help with this assessment, but you will be the one writing it and signing it off. If you need any more support with your role as the induction tutor, we will be sending these slides out as a PDF as well. So what are termly reports? Now these are done on ECTE Manager. The mentor does not need the login for ECTE Manager. This is something that you as the induction tutor will log into, will write, will send off. The ECT will add their comments. You'll all sign it, and then it will be sent to us here at the Hub to review. These are completed at the end of each term. Now at terms 1, 2, 4 and 5 of an ECT who's working full time, these will be progress reviews, strengths and areas for development. In terms 3 and term 6 for an ECT that's working full time, these will be a formal assessment against the teacher's standards. All of them are against the teacher standards, but in term 3 and 6, these are full assessments against each one of the teacher standards, and they are slightly different in how they look. If your ECT is part-time, then it will be progress reviews until they get to the end of their third term in terms of amount of teaching time served, and those dates will be slightly different as you go through. Now, these are all based on progress over the term. They are not based on one observation you may have done in that term. They're not based on observations that senior members of staff may have done necessarily, but they are based on progress over that term. And that's why you may need to talk to your mentors around what they've seen as they've been in and out of their classrooms. The next report is due on the 5th of December. Now, for some of you, you may have already processed it. You may have already sent your reviews in. For some people, your date may have been the 28th of November. For others, it may be the 12th of December. It's completely dependent on your ECT's term dates. For those that started in October, well, yours will be due at a point in February and so on. So it completely depends on whenever your ECT started and whatever their dates state. These are always based on the Leicestershire term date. So if you are from a different county, your term dates may be slightly different, and you can get in touch with us and we can move it around to suit your term dates, especially around the Easter holidays and around the end of the year in July, because Leicestershire term dates tend to end earlier in July. So you may need a few more weeks afterwards in order to process your end of term reports. But if that's the case, check your ECT's term dates and then come and let us know and we can move those around. Now, what are the expectations for comments and for any details you may need? Your comments should be detailed. They should be clear that what areas of strength they've got, what areas of development, what are the action steps, why are they strengths, and what does an ECT need to do to address some of those areas for development, and they should be related to the teacher standards. Now, as I said before, you can find these on the government website, but the clickable links will be here when we send out the PDF also. But make sure they're related to the teacher standards. In the full assessment, and the formal assessment at the end of terms 3 and term 6 of a full-time ECT, they will be marked against each of the teacher standards anyway. But when you're looking at progress reviews and you're looking at strengths and areas of development, how can you link those into the teacher standards? Is it clear from your comments where they relate? Are you going to put which teacher standard it relates to? It's completely up to you how it runs, but make sure it's detailed and related to them. If it is an area for development, what are the actions? What are the actions going to be in order for an ECT to be able to make progress against those specific areas? Anything you write on this report should be expected. The ECT should know this already. It should not be a surprise. If we think about this when we write a child's end of year report, it's never a surprise what's on there. So we need to make sure it's the same for an ECT as well. Any report we write should already have been discussed with an ECT. They should already be aware of the progress they're making, and nothing on there should be a surprise at all. It's based on the whole term. As said before, it's never just based on one observation. It's always based on a full term and the progress in that term. And it's agreed between you and the ECT's mentor. For some of you, that will be the same person. So you may also be the ECT's mentor, which obviously makes this slightly easier to write. But for other people where that isn't the same role, then just make sure that you've agreed that with the mentor of what that looked like and the progress made over the term. Some of the details then you'll need for writing this report will include how many days have been completed this term. If the ECT has been absent, then that will change how many days have been completed. But if they haven't had any absences, then it will automatically assume the amount of days that have been served in that term, and it will come up with a calculation for you on that. Please make sure that you've inputted any absent days within the reports. The reason that's really key is because it has then implications for any absence extensions that may be needed. If an ECT has 30 days or more absence within a year, then it automatically triggers a one-term extension at the end of their induction program. So you need to make sure that you've made the absences really, really clear. What is their contract situation for next term? Are they permanent? Are they temporary? If they are still a temporary member of staff, what is the reason for that? And you'll need to input that on ECT Manager as well. Have they received their entitlements? So for example, if they are an ECT in year 1, have they had an additional time off timetable? Had they received their mentoring and have they received that from a key person each time? Those are some of the things, but just make sure that you've read up on the entitlements and that they've received that support that they should be getting. Are they off track or are they on track? If they are off track and they're not meeting the expected standards, then us at the Hub, we should already know about that. So make sure if any of your ECTs are not meeting the expected standards and they're not on track to successfully pass their induction program, then make sure that you get in touch with us here at the Hub, because that is something we should already know. And as I said before, there should be detailed comments. So anything you write on here should be detailed and should be made really clear against, as I said, referencing those teacher standards. Now, writing a progress review, at this point, we are going to go on to ECT Manager, and I'm going to show you exactly what a progress review might look like. You can hopefully see this screen here. And as I said before, this is what your ECT Manager screen will look like. So if we look at this now, here's your home page. You've got either your ECT's name here on the front, and you can edit the progress review from there, or you can go to your ECTs, view your ECT, and you can then fill in your assessment from there. So I'm going to press fill in. When I press fill in, this is what I can see. So days employed during this period is 70 days if there's full-time, working 5 days a week, and they've had no absences. Now my ECT has had no absences, so I'm going to put 70. That's how many that they've been employed for. If they have had any absences, then I can say yes, and I can input there how many absences they've had, for example, and that will work out how many they've served and how many they haven't. My ECT has had no absences, so I'm going to put no in that bracket there. Now, I've got a choice here. Will the ECT be remaining at the school for all or part of the next assessment period? If they will be still with you next term, I'm going to put yes. If they're not with you next term, we'll put no, and we'll put the date that they've resigned. What that will do is that will trigger something called an interim assessment. And an interim assessment means that your ECT is leaving your school, and then that will sign them off from your school and will be able to then link them to another school afterwards. So if you press no, it will take you through to an interim assessment, and that is an assessment against each of the teacher's standards if an ECT is not remaining with you at the next school. My ECT is, and their contract is permanent. If their contract is temporary, this box will come up. And what this box shows you is a reason for their temporary contract and when you're expecting their end date to be, how many terms therefore they're with you. My ECT is permanent, so I'm going to continue. What that then does is it takes me through to this next screen. Okay, so first of all, have they received the correct support and correct entitlements? Hopefully everybody has done. If for whatever reason they haven't, I can press no and then explain why that might be the case. We again should already know if your ECT is struggling to receive the right support and entitlements, or if you're struggling to provide that for them. So therefore, this should already be known to us if it's no. If it's yes though, and hopefully it's yes for everybody, then they've received the correct support and entitlements. I'm going to put yes. The next question is, are they on track or are they off track? If they're off track, then there'll be space for you to put the reasons why. If they're on track, then again, there'll be space for you to put the reasons why. Now in this one here, I have put ECT name continues to have high expectations of the children in the classroom and all around school. She promotes a good learning environment and the children are thriving in her classroom because of this. The children are making good progress in her class, with many making outstanding progress, and this is because of the support, learning environment and high expectations ECT name sets. Okay, now as you can see here, for some of them I may have linked them to teacher standards. If not, I could write it as one paragraph where I haven't linked it to teacher standards. I don't need to comment on all of them here, but I can list, as it says there, any teacher standards where there's a cause for concern, or I can also give the reasons for why the ECT is on track here. Okay, I have put some some teacher standards, and just to make it clearer, but I could also put it without them because I'm clearly making reference to the teacher standards with my comments. I've given you a variety of ways of which this could be outlined and some of the comments in there. So if you did want to pause the video at this point just to see the comments, then you're more than welcome to. But as I said, these are the types of comments you might be putting in there. They are detailed. They say what the ECT has done, and they reference the teacher standards as well. Now, when I'm looking, and it says there, even if the ECT's comments indicate they are on track, they will still have some areas for development. And these areas for development I've made accurate, I've made actionable, and linked to the teacher standards. So here I've put teacher standard 6 to make accurate use of questioning, to challenge pupils to think more deeply at an appropriately challenging level. And here I've put Teacher Standards 3 to continue to develop subject knowledge, particularly in the wider curriculum, through observation of expert practice, speaking to subject leaders, and understanding what comes before and after ECT names year group in the national curriculum. And again, I've made them clear, actionable, and related to the teacher standards. Now, once I'm happy with those areas for strength and areas for development, I'm going to press save and continue. It's worth noticing, as it says at the top, that if you're inactive for more than 20 minutes on ECT Manager, your work will not be saved, and therefore it's recommended that you use the save button at least every 10 minutes. That is more relevant on a full assessment where you're making comments against each of the teacher standards, but it's also relevant here. What sometimes we recommend is that you put this onto a Word document first, and then after you've put them onto a Word document, you can then copy and paste them into here and reformat as you see fit. but similarly, you may be able to do this within the time. I'd always recommend on clicking save after you've done each box. That will save the current report as it is, and then you can go on to the next one afterwards. I've done both, so I'm going to press save and continue. Once I've pressed save and continue, these two options will be available. I've not yet finished and come back to it later, at which point I can press continue and then come back to it. Or similarly, I've completed my part and it's ready for the ECT to add their comments. So I'm going to click ECT available. I've completed mine and the ECT will now be able to add their comments. As soon as I press continue, that's now been sent to the ECT and you'll be onto these parts. ECT comments and then signing the form. You cannot sign the form, either the ECT or you, until the ECT has added their comments. And that's really, really vital. The ECT needs to be able to do that. Now, the other thing with that is when you go back to your ECTs or the reports, you can view the ECT and what it will say there is ECT to comment. That's the current status on there. Okay, so the current status on there is ECT to comment. When that's happened, it will then say digital signatures. And when the digital signatures have been signed by both you and the ECT, that will then be able to be sent through to us. And I'll come on to that in a bit more detail very shortly in our PowerPoint. We're now at the digital signatures part of this webinar, and it's important to know what needs to happen up to that point. So as I said, once a report has been written, what you should have already done is spoken to the ECT about the outcome of that report. If you haven't had a chance to do it before a report is written, remember they should already know whether they're off track. There should be no surprises in this report, so you need to speak with them. That is one of the options as well when an ECT goes to write their comments. Have you spoken about this report? Have you spoken to your induction tutor about it? You should already have spoken to your ECT about the outcome and what the report is going to say. That's really important to do. The ECT will then write their comments, as I showed you on ECT Manager. It's then, therefore, the ECT, after they've written their comments, can digitally sign the report, as can you, the induction tutor. When you get through to formal assessments, that's the end of their year one and the end of their year two, it's also there for the head teacher to sign. In the progress reviews, that's term 1, term 2, term 4 and term 5. And more terms as well if you are part-time, if your ECT is a part-time contract. That's just for the ECT and induction tutor to sign. The head teacher will need to sign the end of year 1 and end of year 2 reports also. Once all of that's been done, ECT's added their comments, it's been digitally signed by all parties, it will then be sent through to us to review. Once we here at the Hub, one of our team has reviewed the progress review and we've added our comments and signed off from it if it's a full assessment as well. Once that's all happened, all parties will be notified and then that report will be finished, completed, and then their next one will come available and that will then show you the dates that are coming up. So here are the current deadlines that we have set, but these are subject to change. As we've said previously, the most recent deadline, or the nearest deadline, is the 5th of December. That's not for everybody, but these are for most people. Check your own dates for your own ECTs. That's really, really important. The one afterwards, the Easter progress review, will be the 13th of March, roughly, in 2026. For some of your ECTs, that might be the end of their year 1 or the end of their induction. And so that could be a full assessment. For many, that will be a progress review as well. And then the final date for the year will be around the 19th of June. But again, check your ECT dates and they may be subject to change as we go through as well. But it's just worth checking what those dates might be. And we'll give a clearer indication when we get closer to that time as well. But again, that could be for some of your ECTs another progress review, especially if you've got ECTs that have started in January or Easter, or you've got part-time ECTs. For others, that will be their end of year 1 or their end of year 2 date. Now, if you've got any questions, anything you want to know, or anything that you need clarifying, here are our contact details. You've got 2 email addresses that you can contact at the top. For induction tutors, you're likely to contact ab@lrtshub.org.uk, but similarly, the one above will get you to similar people. If you have any urgent queries, please phone us on 0116 3033 744, and we're available 8:30 till 4:30 Monday to Friday. These are some of the other contact details we've got for if you're part of these three trusts, or if you need Step Lab themselves, that's for my ECT or Step Lab issues. But otherwise, Joe and I are available and can be contacted on the contact details above. If you need anything further, please be in touch. As I said, this will be sent out to all induction tutors, but subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll get these through straight away, all of these induction tutor briefings. And we'll send these slides through as a PDF with all the clickable links. Thank you for watching. Please get in touch if you've got any further questions or anything you need to clarify. Hopefully this has been helpful for your progress reviews, and we'll see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.